everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Katie. I am very glad that you are here, that you have decided to tune in with me today, because this is the last edition of Coffee with Katie, at least for a little bit of time. And as you may have heard in our announcement in our worship video from this past week, unfortunately, we will not be regathering for worship this Sunday, September 13th, like we'd hoped. And so worship will continue on YouTube for the time being. And this was an incredibly hard decision for Session to make, but we have made this decision out of an abundance of caution as we look out for the well-being of our congregation and wider community. But there is some good news to this, so please hang on for the good news piece. Because with the help of Ted and Dave, we are going to start some small group gatherings at Westwood next week. And so we will still have worship on YouTube, but we are going to start some small group gatherings next week. And so that's why this will likely be the last Coffee with Katie, at least for right now, because I will be switching gears a little bit to focus more on these small group ministries. And so, if you are a part of our Westwood community, then this week, either by email or by mail, you will be receiving a calendar of gatherings and also instructions about how to register for these gatherings. We are requiring registration for all of our in-person gatherings at this time so that we can ensure that we are following the health guidelines and all of that. And so stay tuned for the calendar and for further information. Watch your inbox and your mailbox later this week. I really hope that I'll be able to see some of you around the church in the coming weeks. But if you aren't able to come out, we completely respect that we have varying levels of vulnerability and comfort in our congregation. And so that's why worship will still be on YouTube for this time, because as many people as possible will be able to participate there, and sermon copies will still be mailed out. And so whether I see you around the church at some of our small group gatherings or on YouTube in our Sunday morning worship, then I'm very glad that you're a part of our community, and I look forward to continuing navigating being the church in this ever-changing world. And so it's no secret that we do continue to live through such strange times in our world. Sometimes it can be very easy to forget that, because we continuously adapt to the new normal taking place around us until another new normal is thrown our way and we adapt yet again. This week, students, teachers, and staff at schools throughout our city and across our country resumed in-person learning under conditions dubbed as the new normal for learning. This new normal that everyone keeps talking about, the new normal that we are all living in right now, will forever be a mark in history. These global pandemic conditions have us living through a very significant point in history as we navigate this uncharted territory. Not only have our methods for learning and even attending schools changed, but so have the ways of offices, grocery stores, worship spaces, emergency departments, and many other institutions and organizations function each and every day. If there is a second COVID-19 wave, professionals seem to be claiming that we will be much more prepared this time in our response because we have done it before. Before being the teaching moment that we had back in March when COVID-19 began to spread in our area. This time we already have more precautions and restrictions in place. And this time we have the opportunity to learn from the things we did right and wrong in recent history. Being a history major in my undergrad, I love history, and I know some of you know that. I love to read people's stories or read about past events and think about what these things mean for us today. I think it is so important to look at the implications that history has not just on our today, but also as we head into the future. Because we can learn a lot of things about today and the future from the past. And not just in terms of our coronavirus response, but also as we think about the people that we want to be in this world and the world that we want to bring about. There are a lot of beautiful, courageous examples of history around Manitoba. But one of my favorite learnings from this past summer, in Manitoba particularly, comes from the beautiful Pinawa Dam Provincial Park, where Jody and I have had the opportunity to make a few trips to over this past summer. When the Pinawa Dam first began its operation in 1906, it was the earliest year-round hydroelectrical power dam between the Rockies and Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And so it was built in a response to the growing demand for power as Winnipeg began to grow in the pre-war era. This Pinawa Dam stopped generating power in 1951, after which much of the dam was dismantled and it was even used for demolition practice by the Canadian Armed Forces. And now, as you can see, the Pinawa Dam ruins have been turned into a beautiful provincial park. The water now freely flows through the ruins, through rapids and waterfalls. The Pinawa Dam is now home to fish, deer and bears and their other wildlife friends, and it is a spot enjoyed by the people from Manitoba and also beyond. Jody and I particularly enjoy going to the Pinawa Dam Provincial Park. We love to sit along the rocky riverside with a picnic and just enjoy the fresh air and the peaceful sounds of nature. But one thing I can never get over when we visit the Pinawa Dam Provincial Park is the amount of work that would have gone into building the dam in the first place. There is a sign along the river that gives a bit of a glimpse into the process that it took to construct this dam. The picture isn't the clearest, I know, but get this. They poured the concrete for this dam with wheelbarrows. As it says on this sign, from 1903 to 1906, they used wheelbarrows to pour 18,460 cubic meters of concrete. Just imagine the strength, determination, and perseverance it must have taken to pour so much concrete for several years using only wheelbarrows. This is a pretty significant undertaking, which was done with such care that even engineers marvel at the quality of concrete, which still stands in some form today. Imagine the pride the workers must have felt as they finally got to stand back and marvel at their hard work, not even knowing or realizing that over a century later, in their own way, this dam would be preserved and enjoyed. They quite literally had no idea that as they poured their hard work into the dam, it would provide so many families and friends a place for connection with each other and also this beautiful world that God has made. My friends, even though we might not always think about it, every day we are creating a piece of history. Even when we might not feel like we are making a big impact, every choice we make, every word we say, everything we do is making a difference in one way or another. Maybe it seems like a small difference, but all plants start out from the smallest of seeds. We are living in an age driven by change. Change was already rapidly coming about as technology continues to evolve. But now we are driven by more and more change as we adapt to new ways of doing things in this COVID-19 era. Now, unfortunately, we can't change the fact that things are changing, but we can change how we react and respond to the change around us. We might not like the restrictions and precautions in place by health guidelines, but we know we must follow them as we seek to keep our communities as safe as possible. Likewise, we might not like the protesting happening south of the border and around the world, but we know we must listen because Black lives matter. And it is time to start treating each other with the respect that we all deserve, the respect that all of God's children deserve. We might not like climate extremes, but they wake us up and they remind us that we have an important part to play in saving this planet that God has gifted us with. These changes we are seeing, reacting, and responding to in our world today are not unique to us and our generations. Pandemics, climate change, racism, and so many other pressing issues have been recurrent throughout history. This means that we do have stories to listen to and examples to learn from as we respond in our ever-changing world. It might not seem like you can do a lot for the many problems in our world from right where you are, but you can. You are creating and writing history for the next generation in everything that you do and say. When we reach out with kindness, offer someone a moment of compassion, or sit with a listening ear, we are fostering cultures of love and care, and those cultures matter. The more love and care that we foster in this world means the more kindness and compassion that there will be to go around. And so, not only are we able to create history as we foster cultures in our world through the things that we do and say, but these are the very actions that bring about God's kingdom. God is bringing about his kingdom of love, hope, peace, and joy in our world. Every time we live into the ways of Jesus and seek to be his hands, feet, voice, and heart in this world, we are working to bring about God's kingdom. And if we can learn anything overall from history, and even in our current context, it is that our world is in desperate need of God's kingdom. Our world needs the promises that only God can offer, and each of us have a very important role to play in that task as we work to bring about God's kingdom and rewrite a history of kindness and care in our world. And so, my friends, thanks for tuning in for our last coffee time together. When I first started these Coffee with Katie editions, I was just desperately trying to grasp at a way to connect with you all outside of our worship time on YouTube. But I am so grateful to you all for continuing to tune in week after week for our coffee time together. I will cherish the conversations that these videos have inspired with some of you. Hearing about the ways that you were able to find meaning in my ramblings. And now this is starting to sound like a practice goodbye for when my time at Westwood is over. But you are still stuck with me for the next 11 months. I'm only just over halfway through my time at Westwood. And God can do a lot in 11 months. So I look so forward to continuing on this journey with you all in different ways over the coming weeks and months. Together, may we work to bring about God's kingdom in our community, in our city and our world, while we write a history of kindness and care.